Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and others, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Graves Radio, formerly known as Girl Talk. Today, I've got my friend Heather here, who is placing her microphone in place. Stream quality audio. How are you doing today,
Hi,
Miss Heather?
everyone. I have, the classic Blue Yeti. You get really close. I'm doing well. How are you, Sally?
Doing just fine, thanks. I thought you were going to go into ASMR for a second.
I mean, I definitely can if that's what you'd like.
Your parents and I, your mother and I are getting a divorce.
I'm not sure what to say that.
That's okay. It's just I don't
real.
Yeah,
Too real, Sally.
God, sorry.
No, it's okay.
So, how are you, my darling? I love your nails and your hair. You look great.
Thank you. I'm doing good today. See, these are my replacement nails, and I know everyone listening cannot see, but I can tell a quick story. So,
Yeah.
About a week ago, on Tuesday of last week, I went to, or Wednesday, I don't remember. Who fucking knows? But I went to get my nails done at this it was a hair salon, but they had a nail tech there. And like from Instagram, her nail stuff looked really good. But like, I don't think she knew how to do nails other than nail art. Like she knows how to do nail art, but she does not know how to do acrylic nails. Now, anyone listening, I'm an amputee. I only have 3 fingers. So normally when I go get my nails done, not only is it much quicker than like someone who has a full set of 10 fingernails, but it's usually cheaper too. Now I was cheaper with this lady, but it took her, I was sitting in her chair for 3 straight hours, her doing my nails. Can you believe that?
So you got 1 hour per nail.
Literally, and that's why I wonder if someone with 10 fingernails asked for a full set of acrylics, would it take 10 hours? Like, I was just speechless because not only did it take that long, they were so ugly. They were horrific. No, when I went to go get this new set I have now, I went like to just an actual nail salon. That's just what they do all day. I went there and the girl was like, "Who the fuck did your nails?" She was like, "What is wrong?" Like, okay, so I don't know if anyone, like, I don't know if you've had acrylic nails before, but normally what they do is they take like a plastic tip and they glue it down with nail glue. She didn't have nail glue, so she glued it down with more acrylic.
Right.
So there was just, my nails had this weird little bulge on the cuticle, and like the middle one looked like a Dorito. Like it was so ugly. I could go on and on, but
oddly, I don't know the difference between acrylic or whatever the other ones are. I just had the one where they painted and I put it under the little lamp.
Oh, that's just gel or shellac, they call it.
Shellac.
Acrylic is when they actually artificially lengthen your nails. So, like, this is not my natural nails. It's like for people with weak nails, because if I try to grow out my nails without acrylics, it just tears like paper, like they're paper thin. And it's like you can get different shapes and do all kinds of creative stuff. But they're like really bad for your nails.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like just I love those long like with the kind of pale blue color they are. I'm thinking of like pastel witchcraft is just what comes to mind. And just I see nails that long and they always look awesome, but I always think to myself like I would break them immediately. I'd forget about them and be like, it's guitar time. What happened?
Oh yeah, you can't play an instrument with these at all.
I mean, maybe the theremin.
The
Other than that, no.
Yeah, no, not possible. No. There's a good amount of people, like, I feel like the amount of people on earth who can have nails like this and have a like healthy day-to-day life is the vast minority. Like, think about it. Most lesbians cannot have these nails. Anyone who plays an instrument, any kind of laborer, any kind of like a doctor could never have these. Anyone who works with their hands, so there's just, the list goes on. And no, you can't have these if you're like a chef because it's not sanitary.
Right.
Really, they are more harm than good.
Right. And even like just at home nail stuff like this, I wouldn't be able to have in like most like jobs where I'm using my hands because it has the possibility of just like kind of crumbling up.
Oh yeah, I've tried doing my nails at home and it's just so hard. You have to get all the special shit that they have. If I do paint my nails, I can make it look good and it just peels off like 2 days later.
What is the process like with you painting your nails as an amputee?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know if I could even really tell you.
Yeah,
So I
fine.
have like a residual limb like this, but basically what I normally do is like I'll take a table and I'll open the bottle and I'll like take the brush and I'll hold it against the table with my residual limb and then move my finger against the brush to brush it, like kind of like in the opposite. The motion is coming from my finger, not from the brush, and it
Fascinating.
takes more time for me, but I've done it enough that it's not hard for me. I'm actually like it looks better than when my mom paints my nails.
Mom, if you're listening to this, you did a bad job.
Yeah, sorry mom, I hate to break it to you.
Oh God. I understand you just came from a session of League. Is that your
Oh
main?
god.
Is that your main game, or did I just out you as a LOL player?
No, I mean, I used to play it a lot more. I was like on the team for my college even, and I quit because they put me in every single fucking position on the whole team because I was always just like, oh, Heather can fill out, what anyone else doesn't want to. But I don't know, I like almost never play it anymore.
Right.
I've been playing less video games in general, but like competitive games especially, I've been trying to take more time to like ground myself. I've been trying to find more time to play games that ground me and are just very relaxing. And League of Legends, things like that, things like Overwatch, Apex Legends, online competitive multiplayer games do not relax me. I love them. They are very fun, but they do not relax me. So I've been playing a lot of like Animal Crossing and Pokemon, and I've been playing like old Nintendo games, emulating them, stuff like that, trying to really just ground myself. And I see the thing I'm really bad at and that I'm trying to get better at is having my own company. I hate being alone. I'm so bad at it. I think a lot of people my age can relate to that, but it's just a skill that I need to learn to have because it's important.
Of course, and especially in times like these, like I never thought I'd think to myself, "Oh, this is going to be hard on extroverted people," because if you have any kind of like social awkwardness or like a sort of like introversion. Like I date a couple people who just sound is like they're more sensitive to it. But then they date me, the walking fucking megaphone. So I bit of hypocrisy there. But no, like I remember just thinking like, wow, social butterflies, like they can always just kind of be happy. And then I realized sometimes
Yeah,
loneliness or
not the
like,
case.
yeah, like sometimes solitude for me can be like, oh, that was nice. And oh, we can go to work now. But like, I imagine for people on the other end, it's just like, I'm alone now. And then like your brain convinces you that it's your fault and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's weird for me because when I was in high school and I was like a teenager and younger, I was very introverted. I spent hours and hours by myself just watching YouTube. I did not talk to people. I had very little friends. I did not like leaving the house. And then in college, it's like a switch just flipped in my brain. And I think my transition has a really big part of it. But I'm not really depressed anymore. I more just have problems with anxiety. And also, I can't believe I'm like oversharing here on
No,
the
this is
Salad
great.
Graves podcast. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder last year, and that was like a big thing for me, and that's helped me understand what like how to deal with myself a lot because I have so much anxiety about social situations, but I'm so extroverted I cannot bear to be by myself alone. And so I like one need to learn to self-regulate, which is where I like regulate my own emotions and soothe myself, and two, I need to learn to just be alone and be okay with being alone. And those are things that I've been trying really hard to do. It's very hard, mostly lately, whenever I just watch Kitchen Nightmares because it feels like I'm around people or any reality TV. It feels like I'm around human beings even when I'm not.
And when you're watching reality TV, you have a guarantee that you're the smartest one in the room.
Oh, I mean, not always. I don't know. I think Gordon Ramsay's pretty cool. I think he's smart.
Oh, no.
In
Yeah.
my weaker moments, I wondered, like, what would Gordon Ramsay say to me right now? Oh, he'd scream at me, and that keeps me going.
I would imagine that like he'd see me, take pity on me, and then talk to me like the way he talked to me in like Junior Iron Chef or whatever.
Yeah, well, little kids.
Exactly. But like,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
same,
yeah.
honestly.
Also, that show, it's good, but like when as soon as they get to like the final three and they put them in, like their final thing is to just work as chefs in a kitchen, work as a sous chef, work as a saucier. But like at that point, he kind of drops the fatherly, just like, it's all right, you're doing your best, and sort of like, you're doing this wrong. And it's just like you see a little bit of the beast come out in the
Oh
final.
God, yeah. It gets serious. I've never watched that show. I watched a lot. I've like watched all of Kitchen Nightmares, all of Hotel Hell, but I've never watched those because like the fun part to me is seeing just the utter failure. And it's like I watched this episode last night and it was like this Lebanese restaurant with this family. Everyone that worked there was in the family. It was all like it was a father, a mother, and then their 7 kids, and their kids were aged like 17 to like 26, 27, and they all worked every day 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and they got no pay at all. They just lived with their parents still, and like I just can't imagine that. Like, and like half the episode was just them fighting with each other, like calling each other garbage and like, you stupid whore. I don't know. I love that. I love the fighting. That's what I enjoy. So things like Iron Chef, they're interesting, but it's lacking like the conflict for me for the
Right.
most part.
Now, I would think something like Iron Chef. Well, oh, right, Iron Chef, as opposed to Kitchen Nightmares. I confuse the two of them because I don't often like. I like food. I'm a glutton. So much so that I've started actually intermittent fasting. But like, I would imagine that like it's a different kind of conflict for something like Kitchen Nightmares because it's more like it's like a wake up call, like, hey, you're ready to start taking this seriously. Which I would imagine Kitchen Nightmares has a bit more positivity in it than a show like Bar Rescue, which is this loud guy from Long Island is going to yell at some alcoholics now.
Yeah, plus I've watched Bar Rescue, but I don't have any passion for alcohol at all. It does not interest me, but food does.
Mhm.
So I like enjoy watching Kitchen Nightmares more. Plus, like, I agree, Bar Rescue is just so much more like there's less factors going into a bar too, because it's usually like, oh, your beer's too cold, none of your employees pour it right, you're out of nitrogen, or like all your alcohol is way too old to sell. Like, there's so much more that goes into the restaurant aspect that it's more interesting. And I love like when he goes into like the walk-in fridge and he finds like a giant bag of 2-week-old raw chicken, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
it
like,
makes me like never want to eat at a restaurant again, because
yes.
I'm like, what is going on back there? But it's very entertaining.
Yeah, remember pre-pandemic where we used to go to restaurants and just kind of trust them? Like,
Oh
you'll
my
be
God.
fine. Like, you'll not kill me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I miss it though. Going to
same,
restaurants is like my favorite thing to do. And I just got my second dose last week, and
congrats.
this Tuesday, I went to a restaurant and sat down for the first time since March of 2020, and I hated it. Well, it's mostly because of the restaurant I was at. The thing is like my old boss that I had not seen since I quit my job in August of 2020. Like, we had not spoken since then, and she wanted to reconnect. And so we like went to this restaurant that's basically, every town has that restaurant. Like, all the old people love to eat there for whatever reason. That's where we went. And so it was, I don't know, very out of place for me. I was wearing like my high-waisted jeans and like my Sailor Moon crop top, and then we have Patty walking in on her walker with her teeth falling out. Like, it was just not me. The food also is very bland and not interesting. Like, I ordered spinach raviolis and they were very obviously frozen, and then they brought, instead of like having them sauced or plated, it was like them just on a plate, and then they brought me out a bowl of sauce with a spoon to spoon it over myself. Like, it was
you can make it look nice, we won't.
Pretty much. I don't know, it was not good. But God, I just miss, like, back before COVID, me and my friends every single Sunday would go out to eat. It was like our little time, and I just miss that so much.
Totally. And there were a lot of benefits to like how do I want to put this? We used to kind of use restaurants in such a way where it's like well, the work sucks, so let's buy the employees some food and give them some like vouchers for this Dave and Buster's or whatever. And now there's not really that like little distraction or like field day that you can have, like, now that everything's like fucking closed. And the things that are open just aren't really good idea. Like, I said to my partner, like, let's go to Dave and Buster's, and she was like, yeah, and I was like, I just realized that just because we can go now doesn't mean we should. And like, it was just kind of upsetting because like, I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of like monkey wrenches just kept getting thrown into my attempts to distract myself from what was going on. And the question I've been asking people in regards to COVID, like before everything got put on pause, what were you doing and how has it changed as opposed to like what you're doing now? Like right around the time like all the shutdowns and stuff were starting.
Oh, well, my transition was like halted by COVID because I started my hormones prescription like a week before all the orders came out. And the thing is like I took my first few doses and then I had a reaction to Spiro. And I don't take Spiro at all anymore. I just take estradiol. And it made my legs like purple and like splotchy. It was very weird.
Oh,
I'm fine, but
good.
like they were definitely like, yeah, you need to stop taking it. But then because of COVID, Planned Parenthood was where I used to go, was closed for 3 months straight. It was like only for emergency stuff. So I could not get back in. They could not make me an appointment. And I just didn't take anything because I was like, I don't know what to do. I was very depressed. It's like I had this bottle of hormones next to me that I could not take because I didn't know if it was safe. And then like, at the same time, I didn't change my name yet. I didn't come out to anyone because it was like, what's the point? I'm just gonna hide it. It's like I entered a little cocoon, and like because now I'm vaccinated and I'm almost done with college. It's like I'm just starting to come out of that cocoon.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling, honestly. I know so many trans people who started their transition like right when the pandemic happened. And I just think that's a really common experience, and it's one that I went through too. And I don't know. I definitely am less active now than I was before COVID, but relatively speaking, like since I got vaccinated, my second shot, I have gone out more than like in the past week than I have in like the past 6 months. Like I just going out and doing anything because it's so, I don't know. I'm just so much an extrovert. I cannot stay in the house. I have to go out. And that's the thing too, is like I think with my anxiety before COVID, it was so easy for me. Like when I'm freaking out about something's getting to me, messaging one of my friends and being like, hey, do you want to go to dinner? Like, I'm just going to go to the grocery store. I don't know for what, but I'm just going to go. And like now you can't really do things like that. But I don't know. In a lot of ways, it's different. And in a lot of ways, it's the same as it was before COVID.
Yeah, and I like when people used to come over to my house because my parents are very social, and I am very not antisocial. Just like my independence and time to myself is just very valued to me. And I've had some experiences in the past where people interpret this as, "But why aren't I the exception to your introversion?" And it's like, oh, you get bald. But like, pretty much like my aunts who live somewhat close would come by and just like pop in and like just sort of say like, I'm in the neighborhood, can I come over? And like I said that to a friend of mine recently, and then I kind of realized like, no, that time is like temporarily fucking out. And just like that alone is really what made me feel like, well, I'm very far away from people, and thank God for those doses, because then because I actually just reached out to my band and said like, hey, I've been immunized, let's fucking start playing music again, which is exciting. And I should clarify, we're not like going out to gigs yet, but like we're getting back because like I've been trying to. It's embarrassing when you forget songs you wrote, where it's like, oh, what were the chords? Who fucking wrote? Oh, it was me.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how it is though, because in a lot of ways, music is a very social thing.
Yeah.
So, some people, music, they can hold themselves in a room and create a work of art. That is not me. I could not. I've wanted for so long, like to be a musician and music be a bigger part of my life, but I can't do it on my own. I tried. Like illegally downloaded some
Not on
music
this
production
show.
software like at the beginning of COVID, but I have tried to learn how to use it. It is not, I don't know. For me, it's like collaboration is very important. And I think that's the case for a lot of people into music.
Of course. Like, which is why I feel like it's very important to like have like another artist friend of yours and you say like, hey, pick a key for me to play this in, or fill in this prompt. Tell me, like, write a story for me. And they're like, okay, the donkey went to Jupiter. And then you're like writing. That's copywritten, by the way. You can't take the donkey went to Jupiter.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah, me and EMI, our lawyers have been going at it, and my lawyer is me in a different wig, and it never fools them. I walk back in and I'm just like, "Hi there, y'all. I understand your client." They're like, "We know it's you." God,
the classic wig trick.
Precisely. Oh God. Just out of curiosity, what and I mean this hypothetically, of course, if you have hypothetically illegally downloaded music programs, what kinds would you have?
Oh, well, I was hypothetically thinking of doing that with Ableton Pro, and so that is what I was kind of looking at, but
right.
I don't know. I don't think I would ever do that. It seems a little disrespectful.
No, totally. But like,
Yeah.
I think they're rich enough. No, I'm kidding. Just like, I doubt like there are some programs where like Fruity Loops or like even something like GarageBand, it's very like, hey, come on in, it's pretty self-explanatory. And then you get to something like Studio One or something like that, where it's just like, fuck you if you don't already know this. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. I've just been trying to like use equipment that I didn't know how to. And a lot of the songs I've been writing have been based on things going wrong. Like sometimes like if I do like a vocal effect, it'll go into a feedback loop and then you've got this like percussive like so like I just used that as like the backbeat for a song the other day. Because it's just like, well, if it's not going anywhere, I'm going to use it to my advantage. And
see, the problem I've been having is like Ableton is very user friendly in terms of like actually executing things, like laying synths and manipulating timbre and things like that. Like it's easy. The hard thing is just sometimes the software gets really upset, and unless you're experienced with it, you don't know how to calm it down. Like I had a song that I was just playing around with that I put a lot of different layers into, and then one time after like adding something new, I don't remember what it was, some like percussion thing, I played it and it's like it just got corrupted somehow, and it was like this terrible screeching filter put over the whole thing. And I was like, I didn't know. I looked for many hours for a solution. I didn't know what to do and I just couldn't. I don't know. So I may try again with a future software that I acquire legally. Maybe because honestly, I think that may have something to do with it.
Well,
But it's hard to say.
If you're looking more for something like a DAW type setup, I recommend Studio One because it's free. And it's not one of those like it's free, but the Prime version works and this one doesn't. It's not. Yeah, it's not like
right.
I think they're one of those companies where it's like we've made enough money, here you go, and like I. Also, like, if I do end up buying a music program like an Easy Drummer from TuneTrack, I love that they're like, here's this thing, but it's hundreds of dollars. I'm like, but you're not going to, like, charge me $10 a month till I die? No, just have it. Because, like, I hate, like, when programs are just like, we'll charge you every month, conveniently, till you're dead.
Right, yeah, no. See, I used to do a lot of graphic design for my old job and a lot of old volunteer positions I had. And like honestly, I was very lucky that I had a friend who was very wealthy who let me use her Adobe account because she had the full everything, because that shit is so expensive. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I don't know how. And it's like a great software. Like I could use Photoshop for so many different things and Illustrator for so many different things. Like I used to download YouTube videos and make my own GIFs and everything, and I miss doing that. I used to retouch photos sometimes for people, and like I can't anymore because she doesn't pay for it anymore. So maybe I should get back into it, but it's just so expensive. It's like I already paid so much for my computer. Now I have to pay so much more just to use it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's just it's a very price you out kind of hobby. Which is why for a while everything I was writing was just like written on this hollow box with strings over here, because like it was cheap and it was very, it's sort of like, oh, if I write a shitty song here, it's not going to take anyone else down with me. sort of thing. And to be honest, it was being in a band with two musicians that I view as better than I am. And I don't mean in a self-effacing way. They just have some skills in certain like areas that I didn't have. So like kind of watching them throw stuff together, it's just sort of like, oh, I can make this here, but then I can put it together like in Audacity. It's an interesting learning experience.
Yeah, see, I've always been like I like the idea of things that are more acoustic, but I can't really play any instruments. Like I am a vocalist. That's what I am best at.
Mm-hmm.
I have the ability to play the trumpet. I did that in like part of middle school and elementary school, but like high school I started singing and have become a vocalist, and so that's like my whole thing. But also I just have so much more of a passion for like electronically generated music
Yeah.
more than acoustic. I don't know why. It's just there in my brain, but
It's a very trans thing.
I think so.
I don't know
think you're
why,
right.
it just is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's true. Like,
yeah.
what's her name? Wendy Carlos.
Yeah. Rhode Island's own.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there's many more that I don't know about.
Yeah.
I've never been a history girl, but no, that is true though. And I mean, dance and club music in general has just been something that queer folk have spearheaded
Totally.
forever. So
And like that all comes from disco. The whole like tss, 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 like that came from like genres where like you'd have repetitive yet powerful like percussive beats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it took me, like I was watching this guy who was talking about it was a certain, like, he was just talking about disco in general, and he goes like, disco, the former punchline, until we realized, oh, this ended because it was music by black people and gay people, like, and once like that, and obviously no one said like overtly, like when they were doing disco demolitions, like I'm burning this music because it's black and gay. They would just regurgitate something they heard someone else say, like disco sucks was the tagline
Disco's
of the time.
tacky.
Yeah,
Disco
exactly.
is overplayed. Disco was a fad. Well, that's also like I think it was in the 50s. I don't remember when it was, and I don't remember the word that they used for it, but it was like this brief period where in American culture gay men were like trendy and like it was like cool, and like there was like in magazines like pictures of men kissing because it was like a fashion statement. I don't remember what that period is called, but there's just been weird moments. I feel like it's like every 20 to 15 years queer culture and queer people are like, oh my god, this is so cool and amazing, and then it kind of like fades back into the distance. And that's kind of like what we're experiencing over the past like decade with like drag and RuPaul's Drag Race. I feel like it's just sometimes these things come to the forefront and then they fade back in, because like drag was also a big thing in the 80s, and then the 90s kind of, and then it went away until like the 2010s.
Right. Like, I think it's very typical for something, like, you can't have something be subversive without it first being part of, like, a subculture. And then when, like, a Madonna comes along and goes, voguing, I'm gonna take this. I'm not saying she did that with malice of forethought, but, like, they cover this really great in the show Pose, where the voguing sensation hits, and then, like, the ballrooms are empty, and they're just like, well, the looky-loos are gone. The white people aren't entertained by it anymore. Like, it's no longer their, like, novelty, like, thing. And then, sure enough, it comes back in another form. Like, just, like, it can't, like, you can't be hip forever, but, like, if you were, if something, a movement like that was cool for a little bit, like, it has the, like, potential to show up again. Like,
yeah, definitely.
People were into swing music in the 90s.
Circle.
Like, why?
Yeah, I mean, culture in general is just a big circle. Things always come back. It's so weird, but it is.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder, you know, what the next great thing will be.
This show.
Yeah, totally.
Graves Radio. Oh, my God. I kind of went, okay, I'm going to give a little trade secret out to people here. When I edit this show, I get really high. So, like, if I'm listening along and I'm like, oh, this sound effect would be great, I just throw that in. Like, I was editing while my partner was there, and You know how there's that stock sound effect where like a clay pot is shattering?
Yes.
Yeah, like that one. So like in the movie like Wet Hot American Summer, when like David Hyde Pierce just goes, "I said no," and he like throws something like soft and it cracks like a clay pot, and then it keeps coming back up. Like my partner fell in love with that, and they actually challenged me like, will you hide a clay pot shattering somewhere in your episode? And now it is something I'm doing. Like it's at the very end of the Jess episode. And like just I've really been putting a lot of work into the editing of these podcasts. Like as far as like the theme music goes, like the theme music of the first two episodes were just a song that my band wrote. And it was nice and everything, but I kind of felt like I was just taking something I had done before and going like, yep, here we go, we're done. But then I don't know, inspiration hit and I was like, I want a cool sort of like dark wavy kind of like gothy intro, and that's what I was working on last night as I got really high. And it's the opposite of the expression write drunk, edit sober. I do the opposite. Like I record these things, like I make sure I'm in a good mindset, make sure I've like worked out and eaten so that I can like give it a lot of focus, because podcasts can be very passive. Like you can like kind of sit back and let your guest go, like, or like you can be into it and actively listen. Like I'm trying to like I have notes here just so that I don't like get lost. Like,
Oh my!
Yeah.
So you're keeping a file on me.
Exactly. You know how in movies where like the government follows you and then you've got these like gray black and white photos of just like Iris Graves, other aliases, Rainbow Goddess, or
Yeah.
or the Illinois Bambi. I don't know. I don't know if she's okay with these.
Illinois Bambi.
I don't know if she's okay with these aliases I'm giving her, but
I'm sure she would love them.
no, totally. I for the description of her episode, I wrote, if I could give the award of TikTok's mom to anyone, it would be Iris. And just like,
I agree very much.
yeah, and for Jess's like description, I wrote like, basically we talked about Godzilla, and there's a period of the song Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult where there's audio from the movie where in Japanese the person is saying like Godzilla is headed towards the town square or something like that. So I just made that the subtitle of the episode. Just it's Japanese. Figure out what it means. Just like why did I start this long diversion? Yeah, it just, so basically like as a result, like I've been trying to make it like a very active process. Just because I'm really bored. Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
I mean, it's
like
good when
not
you're
by this
bored to-
action, just in general because of the
Right.
environment we're in.
Yeah, I have been looking for a creative outlet for so long since COVID started, and I still don't have anything. Like I tried music, I just couldn't get into it without having someone to work with, because I don't know. That's just the way I am. I'm like in a lot of ways, like I have creative input, but I am more of a performer than a creator. That's just how I am.
No, totally. And like that's why, because like I hate the criticism where it's like, oh, there were 6 songwriting credits on that Rihanna song, but only 1 songwriting credit for that Queen song. It's like, well, apples and oranges. Queen,
Yeah, it's
Freddie
completely
Mercury
different.
would write a song and lyrics and stitch it together. Rihanna sings them. Like, I'm sorry, how is that a criticism? Elton John never wrote his own shit. Well, he did,
Yeah,
but like the
exactly.
big hits that propelled him were all Bernie Taupin.
Well, even like Frank Sinatra didn't write fucking music at all. Like it just
No.
you're right. It's completely apples to oranges. And I completely respect people who write songs, and I want to write songs. I really do.
Yeah.
It's just it would be easier for me to like sit down with someone who is experienced at songwriting. I have a pretty good understanding of music theory, but someone who would have an even better one, I would hope. And also someone who can just collaborate with me and create something that way. I don't have the motivation or the focus to sit down and like just build the ability to do all of those things by myself. I completely respect people who do, but I have always been like the type of person where it's just hard for me to put all my eggs in one basket or all my energy into one thing. I don't know why it is. It's like the thing that happens with me is I'll get an obsession for like a month and I'll put all my time, energy, and money into it. And then I'll switch. Like a few months ago, I was obsessed with Squishmallows and I would go hunt for them all the time. I spent way too much fucking money on them. And now lately it's been like Pokemon cards. I don't know why. It's just now all my friends are like, oh my God, let's go buy some Pokemon cards. Literally, I went yesterday and I bought some and I regretted it. And then I went today and my mom was like, I'll give you $40 if you get my groceries. And so I was like, okay. And then I spent all 40 of those dollars on Pokemon cards like a 10-year-old. Like, that's just how I am. I have little obsessions where that's all I think about in my spare time. And I'm like, oh my God, like I just really, I don't know why. I'm not a hoarder, but if I didn't control myself, I could become one. Definitely.
Certainly, yeah. And obviously it's easier to become one when you see that kind of thing in your family. Like I feel like one of the reasons I never, very fortunately, had to deal with like there were periods in my life where I would just drink more because I just was upset. I wasn't doing well. But like it never turned into alcoholism. I'd see relatives of mine that were like genuinely struggling and I'd think to myself, ooh, statistically that could be me. Because like, I'm addicted to things that like alter my brain chemistry, because it just sometimes like I'm in my head so much that it's just like I gotta pop a few gummies and like not be there. But like I can very much see myself like if things don't go well, just sort of like, oh, Sally showed up to work high again, like her work is suffering and it's causing us. But like it's something I try to keep in the back of my mind, because like, I don't know, how do I put this? Ever since weed became legal in Massachusetts, I've just been using that to my advantage, where it's just like, we're gonna turn the brain off for a bit.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is like weed is not, it's the least harmful substance in general, in my opinion.
I don't think of it as a drug, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, I would, it's debatable. It definitely is. But there is a line and you can cross that line. And it depends on the person, but some people, it's like it really makes them feel so much better and they use it so much. But you actually can become neurochemically dependent on marijuana.
Yes.
It's usually people who ingest concentrates because it's such a high amount of THC, where they can't eat or do anything unless they have weed. Like they'll shake a little bit, they'll get nauseated. That legitimately can happen. It goes away easier than other withdrawal symptoms, but it still can happen. So I don't know. I also imbibe in gummies sometimes because I cannot handle smoking.
Yeah,
literally, like yeah. I tried smoking again for the first time last weekend. Not only did I have a panic attack and start crying within like a few minutes of smoking strong ass dispensary weed, but also we got Mexican food and then I was trying to pour queso on my rice, and for some reason I just tilted the bowl the exact opposite direction that I was supposed to, and I spilled cheese all over the table, and I was like, I'm sorry. I felt so bad.
The little Heather in my brain that steers is just kind of just shrugging right now.
Gone. Yeah, she's not even here. I felt so
She's
bad,
listening to Disarelli Gears by Cream, so we're just kind of fucked for now.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, gummies for me are a lot, I don't know why, a lot more well, I get like the 2-to-1s indica CBD ones that are like more CBD than THC, and those I like them because I can feel it in my body,
right?
Because for me it does help me a little bit with anxiety, but if I have like any kind of, if I feel out of control mentally, then I like my anxiety gets worse,
right?
Like I don't, and that's what happens whenever I smoke, is my anxiety just gets worse. I don't know why, it just does. And I hate it.
Right. I had to create this little visualization in my head because I am 27 years old and I just got into like regularly imbibing in like marijuana products. And I call it marijuana products because weed and pot, it just sounds so euphemistic. Like, ooh, we're doing a bad thing. And I'm like, no, can't we just call it what it is? But like,
yeah. Right.
Also, like if you're smoking a joint, yeah, that's weed, that's pot. But like if I've got like gummies, it's just like I'm not like these are my, it's just like the Mean Girls quote, what are marijuana tablets? It's funny you should ask.
It's different.
Yeah.
It really is different. I don't know, because I also, anyone listening, I legally live in a legal recreational state and I am of legal age, so no illicit activity occurring here, and it's completely different.
Like the shit that has names that make you giggle, like, yo, I've got unreleased Alan Moore drawings. Like, why didn't you just say so, motherfucker? Light me up.
Right.
But like, oh yeah, the thing I was saying was like, because I'm so new to like just gummies and shit and like edibles and whatnot. I had to. I sometimes I'll do these like visualizations where like it's sort of like maladaptive daydreaming, but used to sort of remind me of something. And I kind of did this like image thing where it's like inside of my brain, I put a Post-it note that said, Sally, if you're reading this, you're high, and the thing you're worrying about right now isn't that bad. It's just like, it's something I had to like conjure up in my brain for like the next time. And like, I just got the image the other day. I'm like, but what if that Post-it note appears when I'm just like on like hallucinogens or something? Which I really want.
That's really smart though. I mean, that's basically what self-regulation is. I have to do that. Like when I have complete delusions about my life or my relationships and I'm freaking out for no reason, sometimes I have to think of all the things people have said to me that prove that this is not true. And it's like, it's important to have that, you know, because sometimes that's like what stops me from doing something irrational.
Yeah, there's this book I read a couple years ago called Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. And it's this very interesting book. And essentially, it's this woman enters into this relationship with this guy. And because it is fiction, like the villain is able to be a bit more like unrealistic. And so as a result, like he puts on this sort of like fake sort of charisma, joie de vivre, panache, where like he seems like the perfect guy. And then when they go on their honeymoon or something, they get to Thailand, where he's able to reveal, oh, not only am I actually secretly evil, but I'm basically going to keep you locked up in our house, like, because I'm evil. And like it took me years to realize, like, oh, this whole thing is what goes through the head of people when you are just so used to not trusting them, where it's just like, this is nice, but what if this is a very unrealistic, like, Charlie Brooker episode of Black Mirror, where, oh, they secretly are a monster, like, in this unrealistic way. Like, just, like, do you ever have that moment where it's like, you know, someone could secretly destroy me by doing this, and it's all super unrealistic, but your brain is like, we're going to run with that fear, and it's going to be how we operate.
Well, it's the thing is when so many times in your life, especially your early life, you expect things to go well, and then they don't, and you are devastated and disappointed, and those who are supposed to care about you the most have issues that stop them from doing so, or they do something that is just wrong to you. It just makes it so hard to accept love from people in the future and know that, like, yes, you love me, you're not going to hurt me. And I have to, because really, when you're in a position where you've been so traumatized, it takes a lot of conscious effort to be vulnerable and let people love you and be affectionate with you. And it's a lot, it's draining, and it can be very tempting to just isolate. I don't know. I guess I should say I'm proud of myself for the progress that I have made, but I also have to cut myself some slack sometimes, because the way I feel, it's still going to happen sometimes. And I just have to be able to recognize that that is pathological and treat it as such, and not let it become real to me. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I'm just projecting and vomiting all my emotions everywhere, but
this is if there's ever been a point in human history to vomit, it's been the past year. So go for it. Vomit like you got botulism in 1999. No, I'm kidding. Prince wrote very few songs about botulism. Yeah, he really wanted to write about the Erebus and the Terror and how their canned goods were going poorly, but he's gone too soon. No, I'm kidding. I actually don't know very much about Prince, and the stuff I do know is the very, like, the big albums, like, just Purple Rain, or, like, whichever, Around the World in the Day, or some shit like that. Not that it's shit, it's just, it's not something that's really in my catalog of, like, info dumping. But, like, to go back to what we were talking about, one of the reasons I actually started this show is because I was talking to my psychiatrist, and I'm like, something, not good at writing songs anymore, which is obviously not true. This is just lies we tell ourselves when we're trying to do creative things, and we compare it to
Right.
everything that's like ever impressed us. And my psychiatrist was just like, look, you take your music very seriously, which you should. You shouldn't just do it lackadaisically if you want to like build a career from it, which I do. But like she said, you need to do something with your creativity that's more like playing. And so then I was like, well, with a podcast, pretty much like conversation is just something I can do. Like I could shut my mind off and do it autopilot, but it's something that like I'm pretty good at, and I enjoy like talking to other people and like people like you who like I'm friendly with, but I want to know a little bit more.
Right.
So like that's pretty much why I started this, is because I was thinking too much. So time to do a thing that requires lots of thinking and editing and
I don't know. I feel like you and me are similar in that, like, I mean, I guess I can't speak for you. So
go for
tell
it.
me if but I am very much the type of person where talking to people is so beneficial for me. It takes it out of me. Like it goes away when I talk. Like I swear, anytime I'm freaking the fuck out internally and I'm like, feel like something terrible is about to happen, if I'm talking to my friends and I just explain how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, it just disappears. And that's how I am. And it's like, that's why, but that's not healthy because I mean, in some ways it is. Social support is very important, but I need to get to the point where I can take my mind off of something without talking to someone about it. And that's like the goal I have right now. But that's why, like, I'm just still with this podcast talking about, all my bullshit, but that's just how it is. And so I feel like a podcast just seems like such a good format for that type of thing, because it's podcasts, when you have different guests, like you can talk about short-term things like, oh my god, did you hear about music or movies, or you can talk about like, let's talk about our lives and our trauma, that type thing.
Precisely. Just like I need like big like 1950s type music, and then it's just like, and now for here's trauma. Just
pretty much, yeah. The trauma tune on the piano.
It's like, thank you very much. It's like, so I was watching anime the other day when I realized I'm hurt.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's weird though, because sometimes it takes things that are positive to make you realize how traumatized you really are and all the shit you're holding on to. And that's what I'm experiencing, because I thought I was fine. I thought I was better. And then it's like, ding, like, yeah, trauma. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, starting a relationship is like remembering that you were about to have company over and you're like, oh shit, I have to clean. And then you try to do it very quickly. And then like the people coming over, i.e. the people you're in a relationship with, are like, yeah, this isn't a huge issue.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, like just there's this throwaway joke in this episode of Seinfeld where pretty much like it's the one where Janine Garofalo comes on and she's like the female Jerry, and he says like, I don't want to date someone like me. I hate myself. And I feel like there's a very healthy realization you have where it's like, oh, I like dating people that are very different from me. Like one of my partners, she's very like she's got what you would call colloquially resting bitch face, and she has said to me like, hey, I don't necessarily express myself the way the average person does. And I'm like, that's totally fine. Like, I don't require that I walk around, I'm like a sprinkler. I just spray my feelings everywhere. I'm just like, I'm so sad. And then like, I don't know, the other way I describe it is just that fine where it's like, hey, if you ever want to talk about your problems, no thanks. Okay, cool. I'm sad. I know you are, Billy. I'm really sad. Just like, that's me. I'm the one just going, I'll talk about my feelings. Like, how about someone who hasn't shared something today?
I don't know. For me, like sharing my feelings is honestly a recent development,
Yes.
but being social is not. It's just used to, if I was upset about something, I would like ask someone else, like, oh, tell me all your secrets. Tell me what's going on with you. And I'd like bury my head in their feelings.
Right.
But now I don't do that anymore.
This question I wanted to ask you a while back. You said you were playing, so you're very much a gamer girl.
Yes.
We have Egirl Bath Time as one of our Discord chats in your servers, for those who don't know. And so like obviously like you've been playing games for a while, you play games competitively, and now you said suddenly you're taking a break from them, which I happen to be as well. Can you talk about like why that came up and things you're noticing?
It's just the burnout and the tilt was so strong where if I wasn't up to my own standards, I would get so upset. And also, like, it's just so easy for me to sink so much of my time into like playing a game online and then feel like I didn't do anything or accomplish anything or even really enjoy myself.
Right.
So it's like, why did I do it to begin with? And so that's why I wanted to put more time into games where I can go back and look at it and be like, oh yeah, I put hours into this and look what I created, or look what I have, look what I did. Where with competitive games, that's not really like, you can say, oh, this is my rank. But to me, I'm a perfectionist. I'm an ambition person. Like, it's always like my rank should be higher. So I was never happy. I
Right.
was never satisfied.
Yeah, and like the ranks are great and all, but like no one ever looks at, like, I feel like no one ever looks at each other's rank and goes, wow, this person's really up here, or wow, this person really sucks. I think they just kind of look at their own and think, soon the praise will flow right in. I've been doing the same thing, partially because my laptop broke. It is in the laptop hospital right now. But like this computer I'm on right now, it had some hard drive issues. So I basically, once I got it fixed, I was like, okay, from now on, this is going to be the work from home computer, as well as the like editing software, and not editing software, editing like music type stuff, just out of like necessity and safety. And then I bought a laptop, and I'm like, and this can be specifically for games. And like, it was nice to kind of like organize like my tool belt, if you will, to like make that have a certain designation. But my laptop broke a week ago. Not permanently, it just had some hard drive issues. And as a result, I said, okay, we can put one game on the work computer, and that one game happened to be Farming Simulator 17. And I don't know why this is a game I love so much, but like, I'll just pop a few gummies and then I'll just like go cultivate some land for potato season, and I love it so much.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of like the same thing I enjoy about playing Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley. I love farming and I love developing, and it's weird. I don't know, but it's very fun.
Right. What have you been doing, like in place of video games, or has it been like what have you been doing to fill that time?
Trying to watch TV, watch podcasts, watch YouTube, take things in, spending more time on schoolwork, absorbing it more. And if I do play games, playing games that are more fun. And if I do play like multiplayer online games, I only play them with friends and for short periods of time. Like, I'll play like 3 or 4 league games with my friends, whereas early in the pandemic I would spend 12 hours playing ranked on League, and I would climb a whole bracket in one day. Like, that's how serious it was to me.
Right.
I was like, I need to do this. It's like a compulsion. I don't know why, and I don't have that compulsion anymore. And I'm proud of myself because it's just not healthy. And also, like, I had a team and everything, but they were never appreciative of anything, and I didn't even like their company. It's just like, and we never won or succeeded. So I was like, you know what, fuck this.
And
like,
was that a big thing for your team? Was your team like, I'm not having fun if we don't win this?
Yeah, pretty much. They were all very like, would bicker with each other, be like, oh, this is your fault. And then in my head, I'm like, this is all of your fault. Like, everyone is a disaster, including me. And they just did not have fun. Like, I remember the one tournament we actually got invited to, because most league tournaments, you have to be ranked like at least plat, if not diamond. And I was the highest rank in my team at Gold 1 at the time. One of our team members is now in plat, but I was almost in plat, but I kind of gave up. Like, I don't
silly question. When you say plat, you mean like platinum?
Platinum.
Okay, because my dumb brain was just like, why is plaid, Plaid? Why is that like? Is this a lesbian video game I want to play?
Oh my god, like a oh wow, yeah. No, platinum.
No,
platinum.
I figured, yeah.
But like,
never claimed I was smart, just so you know.
The one tournament that we got invited to, it was like, we were so outmatched. They had like masters on their team, and half of our team was like people who don't even play ranked. And so I was like, we're not gonna win ever by any circumstance. And it was worse than I expected. We went like, I think our team only had 2 kills and they had like 50 or 60. Like, it was very bad. But the whole time I was like in all chat, like talking to them and making jokes, and my team was so mad. They're like, why are you socializing with them? You need to focus. And I'm like, you're not winning. Not when we have a level 30 on ADC. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just enjoy yourself. And that's the thing, is that was kind of a wake-up call for me, because it's like, who fucking cares? Like, I'm enjoying myself. These people aren't. Fuck League. But I don't know. League is just a toxic game in general. It's very toxic, and I am ashamed of the amount of money I've spent on it.
Miss Iris has forbidden me from starting League of Legends.
Never play it.
No?
I wouldn't do it either.
Oh, yeah.
I really wouldn't.
So now Miss Heather is also forbidding me from it.
Yes, I am.
League of Legends is starting to sound a bit like... So because it's a very competitive game, and the idea of someone who does this for fun, not for God and glory or something like that. You're doing this for fun? This isn't fun. This is... Like, that kind of reminded me of what I experienced when I went to the University of Rhode Island, and I was really just starting anew, just because, like, I went to another school that was really shitty, and I was like, okay, here we are, URI, roadie, here we go. And I saw that, I was like, I'm gonna look up the spring play, see what the spring play is. Now, the first red flag should have been, and it was a good play and everything went very well, but the first red flag should have been, it wasn't like, hey, open auditions. Like, you kind of had to search for it, like, within the theater department website.
Right.
Second red flag was just sort of like, I'm talking to, like, people, and they're like, something. It's sort of like, it was assumed that if you were auditioning to be in the play, you were also a theater major. And, like, it took me, like a while into, like, I got cast. I was ambiance in As You Like It. And it took me a while to realize, oh, I'm only in here because I played the guitar, which is, it wasn't really an ego hit, because, like, you know, if you're the token, or like you're in it because you can do this, you know, cash it and, like, use it. Like, that's how you got there. So just kind of like, it's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't matter how you got there. It's just like what you're doing once you're there. And everyone was talking to me. They're like, so you theater major? I was like, no. They're like, theater minor? I said, no. They're like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I'm just like, I wanted to be in
having fun.
Yeah, it's just like, because the school I came from before didn't have a theater department, and I like being in plays. Fucking hate theater kids, but I like being in plays. And it's just sort of like, I was just like, I haven't been in a play in a while. I never did Shakespeare. This seems fun. And they're like, it's not fucking fun. And they were so confused. They're like, what is wrong with you? It's just sort of like,
why is she having fun? No, I get exactly what you mean. And everyone just takes, I feel like in this country in general, everyone takes themselves so seriously.
Yep.
And everything is about, you know, like, how can I make money? How can I be better than everyone else? And it's like, I think it's important to just step back and have fun and do what you enjoy. Because I'm not on this earth to make money.
No,
I'm not.
Like, one of the, like, I'll tell people, they're like, where can I listen to your podcast? I'm like, on YouTube. They're like, not Spotify or this or that. I'm like, no. Look, if someone wants to pay me to do this, great. But right now, this is just, like, shit I do for free. Like, I throw it up on the internet. And, like, I kind of want people to look at this podcast in its current form, and I want their takeaway to be like, wow, this is so good. I can't believe I'm getting this for free. And then have there be other stuff, like, on my website, and like, hey, my band released this thing, and like, then it would be something that I'm not doing for free, because, like, it took other people's involvement and I put a lot into it. And it's like the whole thing, like, society is there are some things about society I don't like. Then some guy pops out of nowhere, yet you live in a society, I'm very intelligent. Like, that sort of, and I think that's the case with, like, the economic system that we grew up in, where it's like, hey, this thing you're doing, is there really a way you can make money off of it? And it's like, you know, your career doesn't have to be the focal point of your existence, right?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the same boat, and I've never been the type of person to focus on my career. I mean, even before being, like, radicalized and having my own political theory and opinions, I was always just like, my parents really wanted me to be a doctor really bad. And I was always like, fuck no, I'm not going to school till I'm 30. I'm not going hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I don't care. my life isn't about that. I just don't want to.
Right.
And like I had to fight with them for so long. Like I wanted to go to college just because I enjoy learning. I don't think everyone needs to go to college. I don't care what people do, but I went because I wanted to. And I'm enjoying college right now. I'm almost done. But I'm enjoying it. And I just the whole time I always hear people talk about the world in ways that just I don't know how people can live like that and hold those philosophies and not feel hopeless. I don't know. Everyone's
Yeah.
different. If that's what it means something to them, I respect that. But I don't know. It just feels very foreign to me.
Of course. Yeah. And like, I was told some conflicting things. When I said I want to go to college and be a theater major, I was told, if you were going to be good at theater, don't you think you would have been cast for a lead role by now? Which that look is correct. Very rough, very rough
Yeah,
and very
that's kinda shitty.
wrong information to be given when you're a child. And I was also told, and I told like people, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to study. Da, 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 da. And they're like, you're not supposed to know. Or like, it's okay if you don't know. Meanwhile, flash forward 30 years when I have children, I'm going to sit them all down and go, all right, look, your parents and I, we're going to pay for college, but not until you say, I want to go here and I want to study this. And I'm going to ask you why. And you need to have a simple why, and because I'm passionate about it, or because I want to learn more about that. Like, they can change their major later if they're like, hey, I tried it, wasn't for me. But like, motherfucker, if you're going to college without a plan, fuck no.
Oh yeah. No, that's just such a mistake.
Yeah, and like,
That shit is
yeah.
so expensive too.
Yeah, it's just kind of the compulsory thing we do now. But like, I was just kind of told, go be a communications major. Why? It just seems like something you'd be good at. This is terrible advice. Now I'm
that
drinking.
Really is terrible advice.
It's whatever. I like to think that like the older I got, the more I was just well. It also took me until I was 20 years old to start going, hey, I hate this. I want to do something else. And it's a philosophy I've been like doing like for the past 7 years. Because before that, I was like a little girl made of clay, just like you could mold me into things that I necessarily wasn't. And then when I broke the mold, so to speak, it's just sort of like, I don't know. I'm just like, why isn't everyone doing this? Because like you see people like they go to jobs and marriage and children, and these are all great things. But if you don't have a good reason for doing them, apart from it's just what you do, right? Then you're headed towards failure.
Yeah, I've never been the type of person where I can just accept someone else's destiny as my own. Like people are like, you have to do this because it's just what you do. I'm like, why? If I don't have a reason for something, I refuse to do it.
Right.
That's always been the way that I am.
And what is it you are studying now?
Oh, well, I'm getting my undergrad in psychology, and then I plan to get my master's in social work so that I can get my LCSW and be a therapist. That's my path right now.
Oh, nice. Anything you'd specialize in specifically?
Probably relationships, like couples therapy, and if not, working with other trans folk and maybe with adolescents, but I'm not sure quite as of yet. That could very easily change, but that's just my thoughts so far.
What was there anything that sparked this sort of realization where you're like, I want to go do that? That seems awesome.
Because I just working with people and talking about relationships. Relationships are just something I think a lot about. I'm very much a romantic relationship person.
Right.
And also I grew up in a home with a very troubled relationship. And I think that that's just always given me like a knowledge of it and like a passion for it that kind of runs pretty deep. But there is the chance that I could start out and do couples therapy and absolutely hate it, and then I can switch to something else and that's fine. But that's just kind of what I have my sights set on now.
Was there what has your experience with therapy been like? Just like have you been like a patient for therapy? Like what's that been like for you?
Actually, like the first time I ever went to therapy was concerning my transition, and it's turned into a lot of other things. I'm actually thinking about getting a different therapist because, I've been going and seeing my current therapist for a long time, and I wouldn't say he is a bad therapist, but there's sometimes therapists are not for you, and you
Right.
have to look for different ones. And I'm kind of just now really realizing that almost 2 years later, not like a year and a half later, that I just don't think that he is the therapist for me. And so because of the issues I have been having in the past few months, I want to find a new therapist because I think I need someone who is going to understand where I'm coming from more than he does, just
Mm-hmm.
because him and I are very different people, and that's okay.
Right.
But that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Like there's this Twitch streamer I watch by the name of I think his name is Lyle Forever, and essentially he's this guy from Rhode Island that dresses up like a gecko. Like he has this cheap little lizard costume. It's not a fursuit, I promise. And then he like paints his face like green with face paint, and like he'll look into the camera like I'm doing now. You can't see it off in Radioland. He'll just look into the camera like this, and someone will say something ridiculous like, "God told me Joe Biden was eating babies," and he'll be like, "Okay, God spoke to you," and just like he'd ask that in the very like. My therapist described it as the unflinching look of a social worker, where it's just like, I want to kill someone. Okay, why do you want to murder? Just like obviously, like not in that extreme, but like it's a very
That's what you're supposed to do, really.
yeah, precisely. Like it's
You're not supposed to react.
yeah, like I would tell my therapist like very vulnerable like things or just like certain failings of mine, and I would say sorry, and she'd just be like, "That's what? No, that's not what we're doing." Like I would end it with sorry, and she'd be like, "Why are you sorry?" And I'm like, "No, I'm really sorry." She's like, "Nope, that's not what I'm trying to help you with."
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to working in therapy, but a lot of the thing is like that field in general has more burnout than almost any other field. So I just
Oh
have to be
yes,
careful how I proceed.
that caregiver burnout, it real.
Yeah, it's very, very real. That's kind of why I want to work with trans folk, because it's something that is a lot easier to deal with because I can relate to it, but also it can be something that is also positive. It doesn't have to be stressful, but who knows? I don't
Right.
know where the career will take me. That's just the path I'm on.
Precisely, and I think that's what this pandemic has done to a lot of people. It's just led to people sort of like stay in one place, and you sit there and you're like, I think I'm doing some things incorrectly. That was definitely me. I was actually looking for another job just so that I could like work part time and then like do music all the other time. And then I called in to follow up on my interview, and they're like, read a fucking newspaper, Sally. Like nothing is on right now. All your plans are canceled. And like it was that funny moment where it's like, Springsteen canceled here. Well, Against Me is still playing, and everyone's canceled. Just like, oh god. To be honest, I'm kind of hoping that when things go back to everyone's just like, well, things will never be the same. I'm like, I think we'll make an exception for this one. I think we're gonna try to make it as similar to the before times as possible. And it's just like you don't say this when a snowstorm happens.
Never gonna go back,
right?
But I think in general it will be better.
Right. I think if the world has learned anything, it's that just don't let Americans travel to your country. They're just like, it's a great opportunity to keep the Yanks from coming in here and pissing us off.
Pretty much, yeah.
Exactly. So what are your plans for the future? Oh God, sorry that I asked that question, but no, I am curious with the way your studies are going and the way things seem to be going really well for you. What is in store for you, assuming you can't read the future?
That's a really good question. My priority within the next year is moving out of my parents' house. I'm not quite sure exactly what that's going to look like or when, but I really, really want to. I think that also that will be a big step in me moving past my past and growing into my adult skin.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I took off my adolescent skin sack and I'm putting on the adult one, but it doesn't really fit that well yet.
Right.
And that's just kind of where I'm at right now. And I think moving out will help that a lot because
Certainly.
it will give me a sense of independence, which is something I need. I'm a very codependent, independent person, and I need to be completely independent. That's something that is like a priority for me.
Yeah, and like I think it'll also give you more of a sense of identity as far as that goes, because like I don't know. I can decorate this room to my liking, but I can't I'll put up I'll be like, this is where I'm gonna put some books, and then someone will come along and be like, you can't put these fucking books here. What the fuck are you talking about? Just like, okay, I guess that's clutter now.
Right.
So that's something I'm looking for. Within the next year is also my goal with my partner. We're trying to find a place in Plymouth, or as I call it, the first victim of gentrification.
Yeah, I mean that's really, I think, the best way to put it.
All right. Well, I definitely wish you the best going forward. This was, but before I wrap things up here, do you have anything you want to plug? Like any online stuff you do that you'd like me to put in the links for the show?
Honestly, no. I prefer to be an enigma.
That you shall remain, my beautiful mystery.
Yeah.
Well, my darling, thank you so much for speaking to me. This was wonderful, and I can't wait to put this episode up.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.